Hello, Oilers fans. Austin here, and welcome back to another video. Now that the Oilers have locked up Leon Draisaitl to his big 8-year, $112 million contract, we're going to take a look at the next player that they have to lock up, and hopefully they do it before training camp opens, and that is Evan Bouchard. Will they get the deal done before training camp opens? I'm not sure. Like I mentioned in the Leon Draisaitl videos before, a lot of players don't like to negotiate during the season. They like to just focus on playing hockey and winning a Stanley Cup, and if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you got to get him locked up right now, because if he continues to get even better offensively than he did last year, where he had 82 points, he's gonna be a player that scores 25, maybe even 30 goals. He's going to put up 100 points, and you're going to have to pay him $14 million a year. And obviously, the Oilers cannot afford to do that. Right now, we're going to take a look and project what Bouchard should be making, and hopefully they can get this deal done. If you end up enjoying today's video, make sure you hit like. If you end up really enjoying it and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you do subscribe. This is a very Oilers-focused YouTube channel where we provide tons of different things for everyone, whether it's analytics, commentary, live streams, that sort of thing. So if you end up enjoying today's content and you're a new viewer, welcome in. I hope you enjoy your stay, and let's jump into this. So now with Evan Bouchard, before we talk about what I'm going to project for him to make, we're going to take a look at Puckpedia. We're going to take a look at the salary cap implications of the Leon Draisaitl contract, and then take a look at what the next year or two has in store for the Oilers, when it comes to their salary cap situation. And then we're going to discuss Evan Bouchard, his stats, what I think he's going to get, what I think he should get. Now, when we look at the full roster breakdown for this season, obviously the Oilers, they have everyone locked in. They have their forwards, they have their defensemen, and they have their two goaltenders. They still have almost $1 million in salary cap. That is going to accrue all season for the team, and they may even have more salary cap to work with if Evander Kane ends up going on LTIR to start the season. But of course, until we get to that, we're not going to worry about Evander Kane or the LTIR pool. We're just going to worry about what is the current situation. Now, obviously, Draisaitl, that deal does not kick in until next year. $14 million a year kicks in next year. He's a UFA in 2033. Now, they have some good contracts here. Zach Hyman, only $5.5 million a year. Nugent Hopkins, $5.125 million a year. Now, Adam Henrique, he is signed to next year. Same with Arvidsson and Janmark too. They gave Janmark the 3-year contract this summer. I thought it would be a 1 or 2 year deal. Not sure why they needed to add a third year, but hey, I like that players want to stay and play in Edmonton. I'm not going to complain about that. The Oilers market has been notorious for, players not wanting to sign here, but that has changed over the last couple of years. Leon Draisaitl in his media availability yesterday with Stan Bowman was talking about how players don't want to leave Edmonton anymore, and you love to hear that as a fan. Now, next year, you have Draisaitl, but there's a lot of forwards that are not going to be back. Corey Perry likely won't be back. Jeff Skinner, if he has a good year, puts up 30, 35 goals, and then plays really well in the playoffs, well, he's going to go get a big contract somewhere else, and the Oilers won't have the money. You look at this year, $52 million in salary cap going to their forwards. Next year, $51.7 million. Almost the same salary cap hit, but they're losing 4 of their forwards next year, which is pretty wild to think about, and that's the effect of the Draisaitl contract, his raise that he's getting, $5.5 million raise, $6.5 million a year raise. So obviously he deserves it, but there is going to be a salary cap situation next year where the Oilers are going to have to rely on some really big value contracts to take advantage of that. Now, when we look at the defensive situation, Evan Bouchard, $3.9 million is what he's making this year, and then he's an RFA. Of course, when you're an RFA, the team controls your rights, but I would like to see a contract get done as soon as humanly possible for Evan Bouchard. The salary cap situation this year, they're paying about $24.6 million to their D-men, and next year it's $19 million. So if you project that $5 million that they would be able to spend on Bouchard for a raise, well, that would bring him up to about $8.9 million per year, but I think he's going to get a little bit more than that, and this is why I'm not super concerned about what Bouchard will end up getting, but we are going to discuss that. And then, of course, the goaltender situation. You have Skinner, you have Pickard, Stuart Skinner after this year. Once July 1st hits, they're going to be able to re-sign him long-term. Same with Connor McDavid as well. And if Stuart Skinner puts up a really good year, if he's top 10 in most statistical categories, puts up 35, 40 wins, Stuart Skinner is probably going to be asking for about $5 to $6 million a year, maybe even more depending what his stats look like. So for the Edmonton Oilers, the time to win is literally right now. It has to be this season because when you get into next season and beyond, things are a little bit shaky. But again, that's something we won't worry about till we get there. We can focus on what they can do right now, and that is with Evan Bouchard. How much should Bouchard be making? His last 3 regular seasons combined, 244 games played, 38 goals, which among all defensemen is tied for 8th. 127 assists, which among all defensemen tied for, or is 13th, 165 points, which ranks 11th, and then a plus 50 rating. Now, I didn't provide a whole lot of advanced stats here, or any advanced stats, and I did provide plus minus rating. For a channel, and like myself, I take a lot of stock in the advanced metrics. I don't put a lot of stock in a plus minus rating. However, there are a lot of people that tune into the channel that put a lot of stock into the stats that I've put up, and I will make a video detailing the advanced stats a little bit later. But for right now, we're just going to focus on the bare minimum, just raw data, goals, assist points, plus rating. If that's cool with you, great. I know for some people who are more analytically inclined, you're going to want to see the advanced stats. That's something that I'll provide a little bit later on. In 2023-24, Bouchard's average time on ice, 23 minutes per game, which is a lot. That is like, he's a number 1 D-man. Him and Ekholm really, they're given most of the responsibilities when it comes to trying to shut things down and produce offense. Last 3 playoff seasons, 53 games played, 13 goals, which is 2nd, 45 assists, which is 1st, 58 points, which ranks 1st. Just like Leon Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard seems to play his best hockey when it matters most, and that is in the playoffs, and he has a plus 6 rating as well. However, he was plus 14 this past postseason, which was terrific, and he also finished 2nd in scoring in the entire postseason behind only Connor McDavid as a defenseman. And in the playoffs this year, 25 minutes and 1 second time on ice per game. He is an absolute stud. And when we look at some of the pros of Evan Bouchard's game, elite offensive production, he is their power play quarterback, and he has elite on-ice IQ. He knows where to be. He knows where players are. He's a terrific first passer out of the zone. And when him and Ekholm are on the ice, they don't spend a whole lot of time in the defensive zone. And these are some of the biggest pros for Evan Bouchard's game, why he would deserve a massive contract. Now, with pros come some cons. When we look at the cons of Evan Bouchard's game, he is sheltered by Mattias Ekholm. Ekholm allows Bouchard to really play the game that he wants to play and maximize that, that production, maximize the ability to produce with guys like McDavid, with Draisaitl, with Hyman. And that's not a super bad thing. But I am acknowledging that Mattias Ekholm's game, his defensive game, allows for Bouchard to kind of play a little bit, I wouldn't say loosey-goosey, but there is a little bit of leeway, a little bit of leniency there when it comes to him on the ice with Ekholm. Now, another con for Evan Bouchard is the grade A risks. He is prone to those risks where he'll take he'll pinch in a certain situation where he probably shouldn't pinch. He'll make a play where he doesn't have coverage behind him, and obviously that can lead to some 2-on-1s, that can lead to turnovers, and obviously when you're playing 25 minutes a night in the postseason, you're going to make some mistakes, and they're going to be amplified because you're on the ice so much, and people are going to look at that and go, you know what? He's bad defensively. We can't pay him a lot because of this. It happens, and for a player of Bouchard's caliber, that you're just going to see that. Same with Leon Draisaitl. We've seen how many times Leon Draisaitl, it looks like he's just being lazy in the neutral zone or the defensive zone, but he's also on the ice a lot, so it is a bit more magnified because you do see that a little bit more often, but that's just because he's on the ice more than anyone else. And then another con for Evan Bouchard is sometimes he's just a little bit slow to react to a play. As I mentioned, his on-ice IQ is phenomenal. He seems to know where to be and where guys are, but despite knowing, sometimes he's a little bit slow to react, and that can be very frustrating. For a lot of fans, a lot of Oilers fans in particular, there's this narrative that Evan Bouchard is slow and he doesn't react well to plays, and there's some truth to that. I think it's like a half truth. He is slow to react sometimes, and then it looks really bad when, as a fan, we already know where he should be, and we're yelling. We're like, "Oh, Bouchard, what are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, the puck's going in the back of the net, doesn't get the save, that sort of thing. So those are some of the pros. Those are some of the cons of Evan Bouchard. Overall, Evan Bouchard is an elite player. He's an elite company, and he is on the rise. He is going to continue to get better. He is going to continue to put up elite offensive production, and defensemen of Evan Bouchard's caliber, right shot, offensive D-man with a ton of upside, and he's really coming into his own. He's putting up a ton of points, and he's going to get paid. And in my opinion, I think Evan Bouchard, he's going to come in around $10 million a year AAV if they can get him locked up before preseason starts here, before training camp opens. I don't want this to, go into the regular season and then have Bouchard maybe score 30 goals and have 100 points, because if that happens, he's going to be asking for 12 or 13 or even more than that per year. And obviously the Oilers probably won't be able to afford that, considering the situation with Connor McDavid re-upping him and then Stuart Skinner as well. So if you're the Edmonton Oilers, let's get this done. If they can get him around the $10 million average annual value mark, if they can even come in a shade under that, if you can get him for like $9.5 million, that would be terrific. Also, you have the deferred contract structure that, the Carolina Hurricanes have done with Seth Jarvis, one of their best defensemen. If Edmonton can also do that with Evan Bouchard, try and maximize the current salary cap situation and pay Bouchard out in a quote-unquote year 9 salary, that would also be great as well. However, whatever Bouchard ends up making, he's probably worth it. I did just want to discuss what his pros and cons are, what kind of production he's put up, and then the type of money that he's going to command. And if they can get him to around $10 million a year, as a fan, I'm very happy about that. He is currently in the last year of his bridge deal. He's only 24. The team will retain his rights. I'm not worried about him, being lost to a trade. Obviously, we've beaten this horse way too much when it comes to the Darnell Nurse contract. That affects things as well. So we're going to see how this all plays out. What do you think Evan Bouchard is worth? What do you think he should be paid? Let me know in the comment section below. And like I said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit like. If you really liked it, make sure you subscribe, and always tell someone that you love them. Tomorrow's never a guarantee. Tell someone that you love them, all right? We'll see you soon, Oil Country. Take care.